Hello, I'm Michael Pierce, and this is The Human Condition. Today our topic is fluoride. Do we really need it? I think it's extremely important for us to talk about the other side of some of the public health arguments that we're given in the world today. And I think it's really important to look at some of the sources and some of the actual stories that explain some of the background behind things that we just accept as parts of our lives. So what is the deal with fluoride? Originally, the concept was that maybe a certain group of people might have grown up and lived in an area where groundwater had fluoride in it naturally. And that was usually around the range of at or below 1 part per million concentration. And it's true, some of those people had pretty good teeth. The difficulty about this argument is that not much fluoride occurs around the world in groundwater, not very often. There's many other sources of better groundwater that don't have any fluoride to speak of. Further, there wasn't any benefit beyond 1 part per million. In fact, there was harm caused at beyond 1 part per million. And at first, municipalities that added fluoride to water, although it wasn't natural fluoride, it was synthetic fluoride, which is another discussion, they added more than 1 part per million in many cases. Some of them stayed at right around 1 part per million, which was believed to be a safe level, because that was what was observed in certain natural aquifers. If a group of people if most humans largely don't have fluoride and have great teeth, did anybody ever explore this before? And it turns out that there was. A wonderful dentist named Weston Price sailed around the world and took photographs of indigenous people that had diets that were largely devoid of refined grains and rice and flour and corn and tortillas and all these refined grains that we as a Western culture pushed on people. And he took photographs of these different groups of people before and after having those kinds of foods. And he looked at different generations, not just the children as they ate it and the effects on them once they were born, but the effects on them generationally. For example, if the mothers were given these foods and they gestated those children with that particular food in their bodies. And what happened was, Price published his book in 1939, and he found that the upper dental arch didn't grow as big and didn't grow as large across in people that ate those foods. So not only did they get a smaller dental arch, they sometimes got a smaller lower dental arch, or the lower jaw would grow large and overcome the upper jaw, and they would have to have teeth extractions and jaw surgeries and all kinds of braces. Further, he found, Weston Price of the Weston Price Foundation, found that the airways were also clogged, that because all of these foods were mucus producing, they filled the turbinates, they filled the sinuses, they filled the mucous membranes in the bony tube that is part of your sinuses, and then that led to reduced airflow and mouth breathing. That would lead to cavities, in addition to the crowding that already occurred from the smaller upper dental arch in the maxilla. And so when that happened, the people would end up with tooth decay for many, many reasons: crowding, dry mouth breathing, nasal clogging, and nasal swelling, as well as the actual food they ate that caused bacteria and tooth decay. So did they really need fluoride? In addition, there have been some interesting books that I've got here for you, books that explore everything from the World War II German experiments in fluoride mind control. They used fluoride to dumb down people, and to this day we now know, very recently, that young children will lose 7 points minimum of their IQ when they're exposed to fluoride in drinking water. So whether we put the fluoride in our drinking water and drink it, whether we put it on our teeth, this is a problem that needs to be examined, and it's never been properly studied. Most of the world, if you don't know this, doesn't do fluoridation of their water. The United States does, but not all of the states and not all of the cities. And there are a number of cities that have voted to not do that. There's also suppression of studies of cases where there are cities, towns, or families that have opted to not use fluoridation in their water or topical fluoride. Further, if you study the bones and teeth of people that have had excess fluoride, which is more than 1 part per million, they tend to get dental fluorosis, which is a modeling of their teeth or an irregularity of the production genetically from the fluoride screwing up the production of the enamel of their teeth. And so they end up with these irregular surfaces that are highly brittle and that can calve off. They have different discolorations of their teeth with different densities of their teeth, and they also get this in their bone. It's called dental fluorosis in the teeth, and it's bone fluorosis or osteofluorosis in the spine. And so you get this spinal fluorosis and bone fluorosis where the same thing happens. You get different densities, different brittleness, different factors of weakness in the bone. It's harder bone, but it's more brittle. So it's more like a ceramic cup that you drop on the ground and it shatters into a million pieces. So that's a much higher risk for people if they end up with that problem. And this was something that we aren't studying systematically right now. Further, the manufacturing process of refining uranium from the soil in the United States to get uranium for the nuclear bomb program and for nuclear reactors involves ultracentrifugation, which produces a lot of fluoride. When they extract uranium from the soil, they extract fluoride too. This is also something that happens in the aluminum industry as well. So these industrial forms of fluoride are often the ones that end up in our water. They're not natural forms of fluoride that bubble into water over millions of years at 1 part per million. They're the forms that are dumped in from industrial waste. So what can we do about this? Well, one thing we can do is stop taking the fluoride. The other thing we can do is stop eating the processed foods that cause the dental caries and cause the problems of malformation of our faces and skulls. Another thing we can do is begin to take much more of other minerals that make our teeth naturally strong and hard without having brittleness to them. We can use collagen, which is a protein that helps make our bones very dense and our teeth very dense without making them brittle. And we can also sometimes use boron supplements. There are boron supplements that are fit for human consumption that can be used for helping to reduce fluoride in the body, and boron does compete with fluoride to some degree. We can also avoid the fluoride-containing antibiotics. There's a number of fluoride-containing drugs that damage ligaments and tendons and soft tissue, and for months up to a year, a person afterward may have problems where if they lift something heavy like a gallon of milk or a gallon of water, they could rupture their tendons in their arms, and that's because of the problem of the fluorine in some of these drugs goes into the soft tissue and weakens it and makes it brittle so that it ruptures with tensile loads. So when you put a tensile load on a tendon and it tugs to hold on to that gallon jug of water, then it snaps and pops and the person may need surgery. Now, many people will grow out of this over the course of months or years, and some people won't. It's a real problem because it makes tissue tensile strength tremendously weaker in those who are susceptible to it. So I'd like to know what you think about fluoride, what your favorite sources are, and what you think of mine. Thank you.